was more about the fact that I asked her to help me change. Something changed in my life. When I was unemployed, I was angry with myself to the point where I actually done really bad things, but I'd never hurt another human being. That was the line that I drew myself to extreme measures. And then one day came, I went to Louise's apartment and asked her, listen, things are not going well and I need to change. And she said, yeah, come first thing in the morning. We'll meet at 9 o'clock in the morning. I never wake up that early, but I did because this is someone who I hold value to because she's a real artist. And no, she was a graduate at a prestigious school, so that I put a lot of mantle in that. We started running together. I could barely run, at that time, I could barely run 5 blocks. And I'll never forget the words that she said to me one time. When I got tired and I was on my knees and I was out of breath. She said, "Oh, what happened? Did your fat ass ego got hurt? Oh, so bad. Get your fat ass back up." And next thing you know, I was so upset that she said that to me, but then again, it just made me want to do more for some odd reason. Then I went from a few blocks to a mile to 2 blocks, and then months and months later, I got to 6 miles, then to 8 miles, and then she gave me a camera. She handed me a Sony point and shoot, and she's like, take a few pictures, see what you can do with it. You say you like photography, right? See what you can do with it. And I started doing it, and I started messing with the camera. I messed around with the quirks and gigs. I didn't want to be suppressed with just automated settings, and I liked it. It felt good taking pictures of the environment, people's emotions that you never see before, and I wanted to explore it more. When I first started getting my unemployment checks, I decided to use it towards my first SLR camera when Circuit City was going out of business. And that's when I started my photography journey, I guess you can say that. And I took pictures of flowers, events, and then I started going to conventions to take pictures of people in costumes, and I remembered how much I used to admire cosplayers for wearing those outfits, because it takes a lot of work and a lot of money sometimes to get the costume and put it on. So I said to myself, you know what, why don't I be a costume photographer? And it worked out okay. People started laughing, smiling, because I know that somewhere deep inside, I knew that I had to ask permission because it is a hostile environment. Now, defining hostile is that a lot of people can make a con experience very uncomfortable because everyone has double standards, I don't know. I'm not the best person to use great words, so you'll have to excuse me. But to break it down, a lot of people go there for pure reasons, to have fun. And then there's a lot of people, or a good amount of people, who have different intentions in mind. And that goes the same for newcomers, intermediates, and veterans. And what I try to do, in the end game, I guess, when I have my camera on, is to make them have a good experience and make them happy. But after this year's Comic-Con, it totally changed everything. A dear friend who came from the strangest places. There was a point where I was in a severe depression, and I won't mention her name, but she was another friend who helped me out of the darkness and into the light, more to say. And now I have to carry my own weight. when I went to Comic-Con with this in mind, like carry my own weight, I started using the phrase "life is good" because this friend used that. And as I went to the convention, life is good. I actually make people feel good about themselves. I was confident that I can make people feel good about themselves with the costumes they wear. I'll never forget that time when I was in a panel for Mattel. It was a toy making panel, toy distribution. There was a little kid who was 10 years old and 10, between 8 to 10. His father asked a question to the panel people about why are they making these Batman figures from Arkham Asylum when they're not making enough of Robin. The panels were kind of feel bad to answer that question because the real answer was that they don't work at DC Direct. They're associated with DC Direct, but they're not behind the whole toy distribution of those toys. So they have no control of that. So they told him nicely, actually they explained it to him, and he felt kind of bad, but his father was encourageable because he wanted his son to just step up to the plate and ask a question. I noticed how shy he was, and it's a father and son activity, and it's a convention of all places. So I decided to go up to him and ask him, I felt moved by your son's courage. So why don't I wanted to ask him if I could actually take a photograph of you and your son. And he said, sure, that would be wonderful. And it's like, how much do you charge? Like, oh, well, I do charge, but why don't we make it easy? Whatever you feel is right, based on the photos I do. And I shot the son by himself at Little Alexander, and then I shot the father with his son. And it felt really good knowing that I actually did something different. Like actually not only just take photographs and make people feel good, I provided a memory for that person, something that they could share together. It was unfortunate that he never emailed me back about the photograph. He did pay me $10 pretty much. And it felt good knowing that, okay, people appreciate my work a little bit better, so that's good. And well, after Comic-Con, it felt like a different experience that I think I could do more. So I decided to contact a friend or two to start doing construction work for a new website that would be more towards my portfolio in photography. But the difference is that I'm actually want to add a tab called Masquerade, not cosplay, not any other term, not steampunk, not cosplay, or anything else, but Masquerade, a broad range of different types of genres mixed into one little tab, so they can see that I can do beauty, fashion, dance, and all that stuff. But then they have cosplayers who, really good cosplays that I wanted to introduce, and they'd be like, oh, okay, this is new, this is kind of different. You're using Masquerade as a means of showing some sense of professionalism of the outlook of the genre itself, like showing it at its best. It will take a while. I hope to launch it by spring or summer of 2012. And going back to my best friend, Louisa, she trained me, I lost weight, I became better fit, I felt confident. But then there was a day when she left me, when I needed her the most. And that's what led me to a severe depression. And I had other people in my life who took very much advantage of me, both photography and personal matter. And it almost made me feel as if I couldn't do this anymore. Then I had another friend from Jersey, two of them actually, who told me how much they loved my work and how they believed in me. Knowing that I actually had people who believed in me, in my talents, or what I'm good at. As I said before, that's when the part when I went from a depression to rising from when I was pulled away from the darkness and into the light. There's a picture on my Facebook that shows the long road. I like to look at that piece a lot from time to time because no matter how dim things are, the sun always comes up, and another day is born. And all you can do is enjoy it for what it is. It never stays the same. Nothing ever stays the same. From words to beliefs to even political views. It never seems the same. There's always a sense of change. And all we can do is either learn from the change or go with the change. Because it's kind of helpful in a sense. From a photograph to an opinion to, I don't know, some person just tells you that you're a great guy or something. It helps. Because it helps you become a happier person as long as you learn that to be happy with yourself. And that's what photography and some of my dearest friends taught me. I missed out on that for a long time, and now I'm learning it day by day. That's who I am. I'm more than a guy with a camera in the hand. I'm someone who's in the pursuit of happiness, at least in my own personal agenda. Any questions you have?
The serious side of you.
Yeah. Well, that's what you deserve.
Yeah, that's what we think. But this is also a feature. I just want people like help you know you more. That's what it's about. Do you have any nicknames for you?
Nicknames? I got... Not really. Some of my models would call me G Unit or Big G for some reason. But anything on the web, no. I want people to know me by my real name. I don't need to have some cool, witty, super nickname because I want them to know I shot you. Period. Gerardo J. Flores, not Gerard, not Gerald, but Gerardo. And I want them to know who I am as not as some kind of persona or give off this different fantasy persona, but just me as someone who's real. And that's what's important. You can be as pretty as you like. You can be the most gorgeous male or female cosplayer there is. But without a really good pit crew, a photographer, and a makeup artist, and all that, it's the same ballgame. The value doesn't stay the same. The value is very different. Value is only constructed based on how you put value into it. One individual doesn't create everything. And I felt that as a cosplay photographer, I wanted to show value as an individual and as a photographer. So when working with people on certain shoots, I give them direction, yes, but I want to let them know that you can trust me, and I will not do A, B, or C. There will only be an A because I told you A. And if I tell you B, I'll email you to make sure that you're okay with it, period. I like to keep people informed of what I do and what will I do in the future. Because the last thing I need is for people to get second thought about the misrepresentation of what I am trying to do with photo shoots, and that makes them to make myself better as a photographer, and also make the cosplayer feel better about themselves, knowing that hey, this guy's pretty professional, legit, he's polite, everything in it. If I have any hopes of doing anything, is to be an example of some sort, like be a symbol of some sort. When I was in Katsucon one time, Katsucon 2010. It was an interesting experience because I got to learn the fast way how unpopular I am. Because I try to mingle with the people who are into the genre so well that they probably can teach me a thing or two, or maybe I can hook up and actually make good networking. Not much of a response was there. I showed up, introduced myself. I wasn't the best image that time. Usually I'm all about dressing up nicely and everything. But the one time, the one con that I didn't show my best was that con, and boy did I had a handful. I spoke to this one cosplayer. Like I said before, I will not mention names. I went up to her and tried to make a small conversation and get it, and work up to working with a photo shoot with her, of course, because I would like to make my portfolio of more. The minute someone else came by, I got zipped through. Zipped through as in like she totally ignored me and just went to the next person. I got shunned off. So I'm like, ooh.
Must have been someone extremely big time.
That I felt like a reality show. I'll be like, this wasn't supposed to happen in the script, right? Or something like that. Because it was an interesting experience. I made new friends in that Katsucon alone. Some who are more people who believed in my work more than ever. And the thing was that in the end of Katsucon, I was met with my past, my present, and what could be my future. My past, people who I've actually come across with, who I made a mistake with, and have to let it go, learn to let it go. And the present, people who are complimenting about my work and believe in me in ways that I would not have imagined. And the future, it all relies on what I'll do. What will I do then? What will I do now to make it happen? I want to make a well-known name for myself as a photographer, but to do so, I have to step up my game, not only as a photographer, but as an individual with morality, or have principles, so at least whoever I'll work with in the future can feel more assured. I think that's what I learned from a lot in my time in going to cons here and there. I don't show up to every con, but I actually do my best to show up to see if there's a certain individual or certain people that would like my work. Surprisingly, I remember actually the famous twins who are from Japan who actually asked me a photo shoot to do in Anime Next of last year. Yes, they were in Comic-Con of last year and the year before, I believe. They did Vocaloid, the Samurai twin cosplay. They did another Vocaloid with nice white dresses. And I actually asked them on Facebook if they could join on Facebook because it would be a really good idea. And they said, "Oh, we don't do Facebook, but we're thinking about it." And then when I went to Anime Next, I gave them my number for the sole purpose if they ever in a con and they needed photos, I would give it to them, and that was then. And they was like, Gerardo, we'd like to have a photo shoot with you. And I was like, this is grand. That was grand. And that was in 2009 or 2010. Not great on dates, but we had a great time. We did the photos and they loved it. And I have it on my Facebook, of course.